Alright, so I'm going to give a little tip, something I ran into. I got a '07 Hummer H3, of course all-wheel drive. It's got the adventure package. Been a pretty good car. I like it. So leaving work one day, get out, hop in it, turn the key like normal. The engine cranks over. Doesn't really attempt to start. No stumble, blah, 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 or nothing. Engine just cranks over. Turn the key back, turn it on, kind of hold it, and pump the accelerator, hold it, pump it, nothing changes. And turn it off. You try to stick your head out there, plus working by a busy road, can't hear nothing, but the Hummer H3 has several things under there. When you turn it on, you can hear uh, some like motors activating or part of the smog or emissions. So it's really hard to tell, to hear if the fuel pump's spinning up. You know, even on my old Firebird, you couldn't hear it spin up. Um, Maybe back in the old days or heavy duty fuel pumps, yeah, you'll hear them churning, but plus all the noise you got going on underneath there, so you can't really hear. You really need somebody to help you or a few more tools. I really didn't have anybody, available at some points, so anyhow, I pulled it into the garage at work. Next day I come in. I seen on YouTube that you can just switch the fuel pump relay with the rear defog relay. Switch that, try to crank it over, see what happens, see if you got a faulty relay. So I came in the morning, I did that, put it in, and I also switched the fuel pump fuse with another one just because I didn't have a tester. So I got in, started it up. It started up. It ran for maybe a good 30 seconds, a minute. I shut it off, gave it a second, turned it back on. It fired up for a brief 2 seconds, and then just stumbled down, died. So that was strange, right? And then it never started again. I had plenty of fuel. Fuel, assuming, was good. At that point, I had it towed to my house, started tinkering with it. And boy, it can get a little confusing, right? So, didn't have a fuel pump pressure tester. Also at work, I did try opening the Schrader valve, depressing it, by hand, and there was no fuel pressure coming out. So you start reading in the book, well, if after a certain amount of time the computer doesn't detect it, pressure, for some reason or another, it can, if you get in a wreck or something, I don't know, the pressure isn't there, it'll shut it off. You start turning it over, and then, it doesn't detect it, it'll start trying to give some. So that'll kind of get into showing you some of these relays here in a minute. Alright, so I'm going to switch screens here, show you a little bit. There she is. Just a little tip. You check out the wiring diagram here in a little bit. You'll see runs from over in this area in your fuse block. There's a ground here on the side of the frame. And then the wires run down a harness here and go back to down your frame to your fuel pump and more. Yeah, we'll get back to this. This is a picture from earlier in the years. Skip by some videos. So I eventually bought a new fuel pump from Rock Auto. I went with the GM Parts Direct one, or I'm sorry, I went with the GM AC Delco one. It was $4 more than the Delphi one, so maybe they're the same animal, who knows. Comes with a new fuel pressure sensor in it, a new O-ring gasket, and these are just blocked off, keep the dirt out of them. There, basic picture there. The new one already had the fuel arm attached to it. It was new box, sealed up, so I'm sure she's a new one. Show you a little bit about the fuse block area through my diagnosing and all this. Man, went the long way around because I was thinking I was hearing the fuel pump and other reasons. But so yeah, you can take this top fuse block off, and but there's really nothing you can see. You turn it over, you got that. There's the block. You got some, once you lower the assembly, these things engage on each side and draw it down and lock it. Here's the bottom of the fuse panel. I removed one of the plastic guards here. Just a bunch of tabs all the way around. And yeah, there's nothing, you know, nothing you can really do there. I took off the intake, air intake, see if I could see the injectors, but they must be all the way under here. Of course, there's your coils. And we're going to get to that. A little bit about the fuel pump diagram, we'll get to that. So, back to the fuse block, just to give you a little heads up here. Fuel pump relay, you pull this out, you check out the diagram, and I got this Harbor Freight tool later on when I went to go get the fuel pressure tester. This here, you hook it up to your battery wherever you test it. Like if I test this to positive battery, it'll light up one color, red. If I touch this to the negative battery, lights up green. So when you're probing and testing your fuse block, you can see what kind of voltage it is, right? If it's a positive or negative. You can use your digital multimeter and all that. But I thought this was kind of handy. Computer safe. Cool. Back to one of the relay areas. I think it's this top left when it's installed. You can see the computer send a signal, pulse signal, and that other tool will light up slightly. I was getting a weak signal when I was testing it, so it sent me down a rabbit trail, the rabbit hole. Here's a little thing. So when this is all together and you're using that Harbor Freight tester, you're probing these, batteries hooked up, you're probing these, you're probing the number 15 here, fuse, fuel pump. You'll get, you know, readings, and you unhook the battery, and I was getting opposite readings. Now, you know, how can that be? The bottom left always seemed to stay the hot positive, and then I think it jumps across diagonally. So once this engages, that's the way the pattern is. So I was checking, you know, with battery hooked up, not hooked up. I was trying to check my ground or my hot line, you know, trying to make sure it was leaving here, going to the fuse, going to the firewall. You know, everything was checking out. I never checked the wire going back to the computer. I was more focused on fuel pump side, you know. So some strangeness there when you're using the tester. All right. You turn your key on. You know, it's kind of hard to be outside here and hear if the relay's clicking. Of course, hooking up the probes and stuff, I was getting readings. Really confusing. Again, no fuel pressure. Up in this area here would be the Schrader valve. And so I did get the fuel pressure tester. Turning it, cranking it, nothing, right? So yeah, you get sidetracked and you start, oh, what if it's the computer not sending the signal, something crazy. You know, just going down the rabbit hole. Totally got sidetracked doing these other things, which I'll show you this fuel pressure tester. Let's go to that now. Bring up a video. Alright, hey, while we're at it, I'll mute this and just show you the gas tank. Alright, so got the fuel tank out. Some of the other videos you'll show the guy trying to get that pipe loose from the fuel pump underneath the car. That's kind of a pain. Luckily, when I was under there, I discovered down at the end here, right there. So when you're up underneath there, frame rail, near the frame rail, you'll see a flexible line going there with a squeeze together disconnect. You can take that right off there. Some fuel will come off, so you know you may want to have your battery unhooked and all that, just being safe. Unhook that, you're going to get some fuel leaking out, no big deal. But if you do it there, then eventually you can just drag the tank out, and you can get a 16 millimeter and a 19 millimeter, or a 5/8 and a 19. I sprayed everything down with a PV blaster, and well, I did some other tinkering. Surprisingly, this line broke free real easy. There was no thread tape sealant or anything around it. It appeared to be original. Came right apart. There's another connector on there which I'm going to say goes back to the part of the fuel evap canister and all that. I'm sure there's a better name for it. That might be one of the motors or something you'll hear activating, as well as something up front. You know, I don't know the proper name for it, so part of the evap or something. So a lot of things making noise. You never know if it's coming from this pump or what. Clean all the dirt up. You know, hey, I pulled it apart this far. You know, I still didn't know what the problem was. I was like, yeah, changing the pump. It's pretty easy to change once you get it out. Not too many bolts. Of course, you're going to break a little nut or something that, you know, one of them clip style nuts, so something's always going to be rusty, which I broke one, but no big deal. If you use a metal punch to get this ring off, you could cause a spark. So ideally you want to use brass drift, and you just rotate that ring. There's little tabs that you got to clear. Well, I got this picture up. If you thought about putting a hose down the tank, you know, I don't even have a little flapper up on when I take the gas cap off. I don't even have a flap up there. Figured, it got broke off sometime. I haven't checked other Hummer H3s. But tried snaking a hose down there because it's going to siphon the gas out. Wouldn't go down. And I'll let you know a little secret. Once you look in this inlet here, there's two plastic obstructions built into the neck protrusions, and prevents you really from putting a hose down in there. And then on the inside of the tank, there's a flap. Sure, you can push that flap open, but to get by them things, that's one thing. Another one of the videos, a guy puts a screwdriver or something in there to hold that open and drains the gas out. Boy, I tell you, if I did it again, I may not. I'd cleaned up the tank, kind of what he did. Hose, clean it out, water, you know. When I cracked this open and looked in there, it was pretty darn clean. Any dirt I might have seen was probably from taking the fuel pump out. Surprisingly clean. There is no fuel filter, inline fuel filter in this thing. So you think you're not getting fuel pressure, you're going to check that. There ain't one on the frame or nothing like that. Fuel pressure regulator, and you're trying to find that when you're searching online, there isn't one. The 05 Colorado has one up by the Schrader valve, but we don't. The Hummer H3. There's slight differences between these 3.7, 3.5, whatever lead motors used in between them. Timing stuff, blah, blah, blah. But anyhow. So, yeah, I ended up siphoning the gas out with a hand pump, trying to pour it out that hole, and I had 3/4 full tank. So yeah. So anyhow, back to this here. Looking here, this thing was kind of rusted on. I sprayed her down good, took a little tiny screwdriver, kind of poked some of the rust out of this area, slightly twisted this back and forth, rotated it around it. Eventually it broke free, and then you can squeeze the sides and just work that right off. It'll clear a protrusion here. That's part of the evap. There. Cleaned any dirt out, put that in there so I didn't get any more in there. I'm lucky enough to have a air compressor, so I kept blowing dirt off as I'm working this ring out. This thing has a potential to kind of pop up like a ½ inch or something like that, but as old as it was and sealed, I didn't have to worry about that. The tank itself, so you got a metal shroud around this, a skid plate, but the tank is plastic. There's a handle on the end of a plastic handle on the end of this, so you can actually use that to drag it out. Yeah, that busted free real easy. Types of breathers here, and I did just lung pressure, blew or sucked through here, and yeah, these are kind of vents, so they only work one way. Kind of a little picture here where I'm driving counterclockwise to knock this ring off. There's indentations here. There's raised portion here, so you got to rotate this ring to free it enough. Really wasn't too bad. A couple spots, knock it around. More scared, don't dig into the plastic tank, so be mindful of what you're hitting. Use a good like 3-pound short handle sledge. Protrusion. So you can see it's raised up a little bit here. I had pulled up a little bit. Normally, because of the ring sealing, it only popped up just a little bit. You got to be careful. You pull it up straight up a little ways, and then you kind of bend it at an angle because you got the float arm. Tells your fuel gauge how much you got. You got to kind of tilt this forward at an angle as you're pulling it out. Mindful not to knock dirt in there. There is a line still connected, and that goes to one of those breathers. It's pretty much just like the other ones. You squeeze it from the side, wiggle her down a little bit, drop it in there. It ain't going nowhere. Of course, you're going to have some gas spilling out of here because this is, So, yeah, no static electricity, no smoking. The fuel filter is inside. It's a sock, fuel filter sock, brassish looking, on the bottom of the pump. Mine was actually pretty clean. So again, no reason, no obstructions, nothing like that. Tell you it wasn't the. I'll get to the point. It wasn't the fuel pump. I'm gonna make you work for the answer here. There's a little shot down inside there. It might have some type of liner, like a metal. I don't know. It was pretty clean in there. Smooth liner. I didn't see any rust. Just a little bit of stuff that I dropped in there. If you empty that out, use the hose, clean it out, you can reach your, you can have a good air compressor, blow it out real good. You can reach up in there with lint-free towels. If you use a paper towel, you're going to get all kinds of lint in there. Trust me. So I had some of them blue towels that doesn't really leave any. But did it real good, blew it out, and then I had a microfiber lint-free. Once it had sat outside for a while, air dried, did all that, wiped it out, felt good. When I did put some clean gas in there, I used seafoam, put that in there. Here's an inside picture of the tank. Just put my camera down in there, or my cell phone. Line leading to that one. Like I say, if you start to wonder if things are plugged or whatever, breathe or suck real hard and that thing will break loose and you'll see that it's working. Just in case you're wondering, oh, that's my problem. Well, if pressure's a problem, you can open that valve in there in the inlet. Fuel pump side-by-sides. You read online, or watch the little video on Rock Auto when you're checking out fuel pumps. They'll say, it says this special turbine pre-pump or whatever. So who knows? Who knows if Delphi is the same as this one? Same guy more, I'm not sure. But especially if you have $4 the GM Delco one. You use something, I remember. Looking at the pumps there. They got the springs. One of the videos touted, our springs are internal. You ain't got to worry about binding or hitting wires or something. Well, that wasn't the case. So, old video. Do a little more here. There's the arm, wiper area. If you have problems with your fuel gauge, that could possibly be an area of interest. It ships with the ring on top. Of course, you're going to pull that off. And it goes on the bottom side between the tank and that. showed you the pictures. So yeah, you think about you know, fuel pressure regulator and all that. Well, here's your fuel pressure sensor. It's kind of just held in there with an O-ring. These sides kind of hold it a little bit. You got to be careful when you're putting the fuel pump. I'm putting the whole tank back up in there. You could easily, because the wires are kind of short from the frame, you could easily, if you get this connected and drop the tank or something, this could pull up or worse. Here's the main connector. The main connector, when you're unhooking it from underneath, there is a little safety slide lock that you got to remove before you can take the connector off. You have to check out one of the other videos. They kind of show that a little better. A little after the fact here. Show you a little video of, was wondering if the old fuel pump happened to be bad as well as other things. So I unhooked the wire on the bottom side of the fuel pump there, and I hooked it to a 12-volt battery charger. Just put it on the low setting, so it may come out a little more if you put it on the high setting. I didn't want to blow it up, you know. I'm just using some de-icer there, so I wouldn't want to reuse this fuel pump anyhow. But so it's coming out, and it drains that white reservoir there pretty fast. So I imagine that's how it is, you know, pressure-wise. You hook it up to the fuel line, yeah, she's going to build up, get that 60 psi that you need or whatever. So now you know that part. I'm going to show you this fuel pressure gauge. So you can pick this up at Harbor Freight. Not too bad. Like I say, the Schrader valve, the hose is just long enough to kind of rest that there. Other guys online, there's hoses long enough, they're taping it to the windshield and driving around. This one's kind of nice. It has that clear plastic line on the side and a push button. That's how you can bleed the gas off before you disconnect the Schrader valve. That way you ain't dumping gas all over. So Schrader valve's right here. There's the line. So I hooked this up, turned it on, you know, just turned it to the on position. No fuel pressure. Crank it over, the gauge doesn't move. No fuel pressure at that point either. So, you know, I sidetracked and all that. You know, a computer, maybe it's thinking, hey, don't send any fuel, right? So maybe I'm not getting spark. Well, if you want to, here's something you can try. If you have an air compressor, dial it back a little bit, shut it off, turn the ignition off. Press the button on the side of this gauge. Of course, you won't have any pressure. Press the button on the side of this gauge, put air into the line, you know, try to stay under that 60 psi. You'll see the gauge come up. Release this button, you'll have 60 psi. Now this is before you take the tank out or anything like that, right? Go in and my truck would fire up. The vehicle would fire up because come to find out, you know, I'm pressurizing the gas in the line. There's enough in the line that I can keep this running for a little bit of times. If this was one of the videos or not, let's take a look here. it's starting to stumble. You get down to 30, 20, this thing starts rocking. Better shut it off before you blow up something. But hey, easy way to figure out the computer's probably working. You know, the ignition and all that.
Okay, so it was running pretty good. Eventually, pressure kind of.
There, about 50 in there. There I go again. I started up.
So, riddle me that. Put air.
Kind of interesting. Alright. Now you're dying for the end, but I'm going to make you work for it. I had to work for it. So, put the new fuel pump in, get it all up in there, hook the battery cables up, attempt to start it, nothing. Fuel pressure gauge hooked up, fuel pressure. At this point, I didn't have any fuel line. It wouldn't start, you know, pressurizing it. So this fast forward now, here we get to the fuse block, right? So yeah, finally had somebody stop by. He's like, hey, are you feeling that relay kick on when I turn the ignition? And there's other things making noise. He's like, so really can't feel it. But pull out the relays, you know, he takes off. Pull out the relays, got the tester, checking all this, and where I'm getting the voltages and all that. Really strange. You know, you with the battery hooked up, doing all your testing, this thing will, you know, show up one color. You unhook the ground from the battery, and you get different readings at that relay area. Totally, what's going on, right? Some of it might seem logical here in the end, but some of it. So, you know, I'm checking the ground. I'm getting from the fuse block to the side fender there. That's all good. I start going down the fender well area, unplugging connectors, checking, back tracing to the fuse block. Everything's working out good. All right, so it's getting back to the fuel pump area, right? So another bad fuel pump, thinking crazy, right? So finally, get the schematics. Okay, when I'm doing this testing from the fuse block back. I'll show you one of these here. Blow it up for you. Yeah, you can find this online real easy. So you got your fuel pump relay and fuel pump fuse, the ground, left inner front wheel, fender area. And when you're using your tester and stuff, the hot shows up right. That's in the right area, but the computer controlled area and the ground, it's kind of backward, a little messed up in this picture. So the ground here, we're gonna keep on trucking, right? So you got your power coming back from the fuel pump, the fuse, it's a gray line going on down the fender well basically, right? I didn't drop the fuel tank again. I didn't have to. Figured out the problem. Here's the schematic, right? You know, when you're using your tester on the relay and stuff, you're testing these points, and your tester's showing you ground one time, or it's showing you a positive the next time, depending on how the battery is. So you're thinking, well, you must be making the connection. You know, it's going through the fuel pump, hitting the ground. Must be okay, right? So, what else could it be? Go back here. I'll blow this up for you. fuel pump and sender assembly, license plate lamp, black wire, black wire. So these here are the grounds, and they go to the left side of rear cross member. Alright, there's also a white wire, thicker than either of these, going to the same ground area. The license plate one is really thin. The fuel pump one, it's okay gauge, but the white one, it's pretty thick. So that's part of the trailer, if you're towing or something, that connector. Good to know, right? So, and go ahead and spill the beans here. This line here, these are all tied in together. So when you're using your tester up in the fuse block area, which is on another one, you could be getting some false readings because of other stuff, right? Backfeeding, something going on. It's really strange. Blow this one up here. Not that far. So this side here is your ECM underneath the hood there that I kind of pointed to earlier. Your fuel level sensor. So only a few here that you're really concerned with when you're diagnosing. Fuel tank pressure sensor. That goes back to the fuel tank. And these, of course, just ran over to the thing we were just looking at. Underhood fuse block there. So it's good to know these. Hop online, show you that a little better. There's the pressure sensor, it's showing you a little more. You know, so yeah, you're diagnosing, you're thinking, oh, is there something wrong here or there? So, drum roll please. Here's the problem. Tracing my line back, you know, I was getting around the wall. I was getting fuel pump positive down the side of the firewall, or you know, fender wall area. I decided, well, let me go ahead to the last part of the puzzle. Let me go to the ground. Okay, that's the easiest point to check. All those three go there. I go back here, underneath there, look underneath there. Everything's attached. It's rusty. So I'm like, all right, it's rusty. And grab a hold of it. Just crumbles in my hand. Pulls right off of this. So here you are looking at the driver's side rear cross member. This is the frame, driver's side frame, cross member that's going to lead over to the other frame. Your evap garbage, part of the, I'm going to call it the evap, part of the fuel evap motor, I don't know what all's in there. This is hiding up underneath here. So here's the white wire going to that trailer connector. I cleared off some of the coating of the wire, the thicker black one. Wrapped a long speaker wire around it real tight. Ran it up to the door frame with some vice grips because I knew it was grounded there. Hopped in, fuel pressure went up, truck started right up. So Indiana weather here, folks. Rear tire kicking up, you know, plus the ground, I'm sure attracted some of the salts, whatever, rusted out in this area. It was still attached. Bolts through the frame, you know, through the cross member and everything, still attached. Sure, it was rusty. And I was like, all right, well, maybe there's a problem here, you know, because of the way the wires kind of looked. I mean, they were still crimped, but as soon as I grabbed a hold of that, it just crumbled right away from it. So relieved to find this. So, go back. A little video, my happy dance video for my friend to see.
So after chasing through all this crap, going through here, going down there, 60 psi. You want to know the answer? Ground rusted away from the frame. I come back here, grab a hold of it. Where you at? Yep, came back here, grabbed a hold of it. Nothing. Ran a jumper wire to this one. To my door.
So there you go, folks. You got a Hummer H3, fuel pump, no fuel pressure, cranks. You've done switch the relay, switch the fuse. Next thing before you change the fuel pump, check that ground in the corner. And save yourself several days of troubleshoot. So I know it's boring, crappy video, but I didn't see anything about that ground on there. Thought you guys should know. So good luck.